All right. Welcome back, my regular viewers, listeners, and watchers. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier iHypnosis life healer coach and your personal guide. Today we've got a really beautiful topic on our hands for our pod, if I may say so myself, because as I was getting ready to record the pod, I was just reflecting on life and a very very important component of the life that we lead, the life that we live. So in all our sessions that we did today, and if I even sort of look back over the last week, one, of course, it's been a week since we wrapped up our retreat. We got to spend a lot of beautiful time together uh, over the last, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the previous week. And then, of course, this week was packed with amazing experiences, amazing conversations, connections, reflections, realizations, and so much more. And so, as I was getting ready to record today's pod, the thought that came to me was that trusting yourself is a lifelong sport. So in the work that we do, especially as healers and coaches, and of course the kind of changes that we want to experience not only in our lives but also be part of the changes that our clients go through in their lives. And so as I was reflecting on this, I said, what three ways or what three frames could best describe what it means to trust yourself, and that trusting yourself is a lifelong sport. The one thing that came to me was, of course, that, soul, like my soul is my guide. And even now, with all the science and technology that we have, we've not really yet been able to figure out, like, what is soul? When it comes to the heart, when it comes to the mind, to an extent, science is trying to figure out what exactly is it, why does it work that way, why is it what it is. But when it comes to soul, like my soul, it's harder than it seems. So when it comes to trusting, and when you look at trusting as being a lifelong sport, remember that your soul is your guide. And so as long as you remember that your soul is your guide, you will always come back to connecting to trusting. Because in the way that life is, quite often, we get lost. Quite often we forget. And so when you remember that you've forgotten, also remember that your soul is truly your guide and that it has you here. The second thing that came to me was the frame, the more I listen. So, in the work that we do, it's very, very easy, and very often it can happen that we forget to listen. It's one thing to forget to listen what other people are saying, and it's one thing to forget to listen to what other people are saying. The other thing is that when we actually flip it and we say, okay, the more I listen, that really is when trust only gets stronger. So when you listen to those little whispers, when I hear my own inner voice speaking to me and I'm actually listening, that is when my trust factor, my trust quotient for myself, that is when it goes up. So something to really consider, like how much are we listening and how often are we listening to our own inner uh, inner speech, right? And lastly, of course, when you're able to remember that your soul is your guide and you're able to practice listening more, that is when the third frame comes into play, which is the more I can share. So I know that more often than not today, I do listen to my own inner voice. I do remember that my soul is my guide. And so, therefore, when I'm in any of these rooms, whether it's here recording a pod or, in my sessions with my students or, sessions with our community, I know that I have more that I can share with them. And so, my wish for you, of course, is that may you continue to remember that trusting is a lifelong sport. And so, even if in a moment, because life is like that, sometimes we can lose faith. And so, remember that even when you lose faith, it's just another reminder that you're about to find your faith again. So, as always, these pods are made in service of you. And I truly wish you the very best in all that you're doing, especially as a healer, especially as a coach, and of course, even as a seeker. And I want you to know that I do recognize you. I do truly value you. And if there's any way in which I can help you, please do reach out and let me know. And having said all of that, of course, as always, remember to live your purpose. One final thing, of course, if you have found that this pod has been of value to you, to share it with somebody, maybe who's going through a tough time right now. Because life is like that. It is the see and the saw, and sometimes we're down, and sometimes we're up again. So, with that, as always, remember to live your purpose. God bless. Of course, I'll see you in the next one.